Okay, we are going to get started. Thank you all for joining me. My name is Amy Wojcik. I am one of the agency managers here at Neishloss and Fleming. We are going to be talking today about how to find new producers. So we will get started. First thing that you need to do, you need to have a plan for recruiting. You need to be able to sell yourself, make an impact, and have a plan about talking to prospects before you actually start making phone calls. There are 6 steps to help this process. So some of the ways that you can actually find those agents to call are cold call lists, email campaigns, career fairs, using social media. That's a very popular thing now to try to help find agents. LinkedIn has been very successful when we have tried to use LinkedIn, using Facebook, writing blogs on Twitter, and other social media avenues. Some of the email campaigns I know from the experience that I've encountered are not as successful. We see that a lot of agents will open up the emails and just kind of scroll through emails, not really paying attention so much to the content. You can also search on the DOI and find agents. Now keep in mind, if you are using DOI searches to find health agents in your area, you are also going to encounter other life agents and P&C agents. Oftentimes we encounter a lot of P&C agents that may have health license but are not currently selling Medicare products. So keep that in mind as well. Also, you can ask your P&C agent or other people that you might know who they refer their business to. A lot of P&C agents are not currently selling Medicare products, so they are obviously giving their business to someone else. So that is also a good avenue to try to find out who people you know are using for their agents. Sorry about that, I had a little technical difficulty. All right, so the next step, call. You have to be persistent on making phone calls. Typically what I do is I will call agents every 2 to 3 days. So if you're working off of a cold call list, for instance, I will call those people every 2 to 3 days, leaving voicemails if you don't get them on the phone. What I found is that agents will either thank you or they will tell you to take them off the list and stop calling. So one of the two is going to happen. Once you actually do get the agent on the phone, if you're having a successful conversation, I then follow up every 2 days. So I'm calling them every other day to stay on the top of their mind. So, you know, they could be getting a lot of other calls from other agencies, and you definitely want to be staying on the top of their mind. Some other successful things, offer to help if you get them on the phone and they are willing to contract. Offer to walk them through the contracting process. If you are local, you could offer to meet them and walk them through the paperwork so they don't feel like they are doing that by themselves. It gives a personal touch and makes them know that you care about them and saving time for them. Make the process seamless for them. So don't send too many emails and contracts at one point in time. I typically will maybe send one contract. If you're doing online contracting for these agents, you know, you could stand on the phone and walk them through that processing, but don't try to bombard them with too much information. My follow-up emails that I send usually have 4, maybe 5 sentences at the most, because they typically aren't going to be reading a huge long page regarding your company or what makes your agency stand out versus others. And don't be afraid of no. Recruiting takes time, so about 10% of the time of these calls that you're making, you might get a yes or you might get some interest, but you also might get hung up on a lot. So don't take that personally. You just kind of have to brush your shoulders off and go on to the next. So the next thing we're going to talk about is catering to your audience. So you have to be able to tweak your sales pitch for each of the agents that you are talking about. You can't be selling your company, your agency, the same way to everybody. Everybody's personalities are different. As you're asking these agents questions, you are going to find out what's important to them. So you really need to cater to that. I typically go off of selling the way that I would want to be sold to. I don't like pushy salespeople. I do not like people that are trying to sell me something that I don't need. So that is the approach that I use when I am talking to new agencies or new agents that we are trying to recruit. I really try to take a more relationship building and personal touch to try to get to know these agents and agencies. Having female and male recruiters. I think that this is really important. You want to have different voices in your office. So if you're one person that's doing recruiting, you know, maybe think about having somebody else help you as well. I know there have been many times that my coworkers and I, maybe I'm talking to an agent and our personalities aren't clicking, or I could just tell maybe he would be more comfortable if he was talking to one of our male recruiters. So we have passed off agency or agent referrals to each other here in the office, because sometimes me just passing off somebody to one of our male recruiters, they can click with them on a different level than I can. And, you know, the personality really can be a factor. You know, there are times that when I started recruiting agents for Knight, Schlatt & Fleming, I would use the same approach with everybody. I would kind of joke and do the relationship building, and quickly I found out that some of my jokes were causing crickets, and some of these agents really do not want that personal touch. So you really, really have to get to know these agents and try to turn your pitch very quickly. Another thing that you want to do, you want to ask a lot of questions. Have you ever worked in Medicare before? That's really important, because you really need to decide if an agent says, no, I've never worked in the Medicare market before. Are you willing to, one, invest the time and possible money to educate these agents and agencies on what it'll take to get them selling Medicare in a very compliant way? What is important to them when working with an agency? That's also good to know. Some agents that we will talk to, they will say they just want free leads. Or, you know, I've encountered some agents that will say, I don't want to do anything, you know, I would just work the leads that you give me. Typically, those are not the agents that I will continue to talk to. I, you know, will walk away and say, thank you very much for your time. I don't think that this opportunity is beneficial to us or you as an agent. And it's okay to walk away. You know, you can't win everybody over. Everybody is not the ideal agent that you want to add to your agency. So don't feel bad if you have to cut a call short, or if you realize that agent is not good for you. And then find out travel restraints as well. Sometimes agents don't want to go outside of Allegheny County or a 10-mile radius from where their neighborhood is. That might not be an agent that you are looking for as well. So get that stuff out of the way first before you decide to send them contracting and invest time and money into these agents, realizing they're not a good fit for you. So differentiating yourself. I'm sure all of you have encountered a lot of agents that you might be talking to, and they are already currently working with another agency. Sometimes it is very hard to convince agents to leave their agency or to get them to even talk to you. So some of the things that you want to find out, what is your current agency doing for you, or what are they not doing for you? Sometimes agents will state, oh, my current agency is doing fine. If you keep digging in and finding out, okay, you say that they're doing fine. What are they offering you? Are they offering you leads? Are they giving you any type of support? When was the last time that you spoke to this agency? Do they answer your phone calls in a timely manner? Some of those types of things can get agents to really open up And a lot of times they will say, well, you know, there is something that I wish my agency was doing for me, and they're not. And there is your in to try to figure out the opportunity on what you can offer this agent versus who they're working with now. Find out what their level contract is. Sometimes, you know, if an agent, for instance, is captive, or if they are a solicitor, I always try to find that out up front. So I am aware of what we are dealing with. If an agent is a solicitor, I like to, you know, make them aware, okay, how many policies have you written this year? There is a chance that your agency can keep your current book of business, so I just want to make you aware of that. You know, we never want to give the impression that we are going to be able to give an agent all of their book of business if that's not how you're set up. So you really want to know where they're coming from and their expectations. Maybe they want to be a street level agent and you are a captive shop. You need to know those types of things. Is the agent taking any of their commissions from them? So if they're not solicitor, you know, I've encountered some people that say, well, you know, my agency just takes $20 an app, or they just take a certain amount from them. If you are not doing that and you're contracting people on a street level, that's something very good that you could sell to your agent. We don't take any commissions from our agents. You know, you can say you get paid direct from the carrier if that's how you get paid. Are they being held captive? So we have encountered this on multiple times. So some of whether it's with an agency, whether it's with a carrier, you know, some of the carriers will have captive contracts with agents. So when I encounter one of these agents that I'm speaking to, as soon as I find out if they're captive, say with a carrier, I always say, you know, that is fantastic. I talk to a lot of agents, and I've encountered some that are captive. But why would you want to be a captive agent with one carrier? You know, there are multiple carriers in Pittsburgh. If you are recruiting in Pittsburgh, there are multiple carriers in Pittsburgh. There's not one carrier that is good for every agent out there. So you're missing opportunities just by offering one Medicare Advantage carrier and not being able to sell anything else. Sure, these carriers might be giving leads, but you can help those agents grow their book of business in other avenues. So, you know, I really think that agents that are maybe ICAs or captive agents, you know, sometimes they are not aware of what that all entails. So ask more questions in that regard. Again, do they answer the phone when the agents call, or do they get back to them in a timely manner? So one of the really good things that I would suggest is you want to make sure that you are always answering your phone calls. You know, the agents that you are currently working with now speak volumes. So, you know, if you're answering your phone calls, if they think that you are getting back to them in a timely manner, then they will state that to other agents too. So that's really a good way, a good word of mouth to try to get your name out there. Do they educate their agents on products? So you want to make sure that you as an agency are educating your agents on products. You know, if they're with an agency and they tell them nothing new that's coming out, or they're not telling them about really big carriers that are in the market and helping them grow their book of business, that could be an opportunity. And do they offer leads or assist them in getting set up with lead programs or pulling lists for their agents? You know, sometimes the agents and the agencies will offer a certain amount of lead promotions for their agents. So think first and try to set up a plan to figure out if you do want to offer leads to your agent. If you don't, and that's all that the agent is worried about, then walk away, or you could actually refer them to another local agency that you know would offer them leads. You could pass, you know, agents back and forth in a good way, so that always sets up a good rapport. So something else I wanted to just talk about, think about even adding a referral bonus to the structure of your agency. It's something to think about. So for instance, if one of your current agents brings on an agent who sells a certain amount of apps, or an agent that you know, has been with the company for at least 6 months, you will offer a referral bonus. Oftentimes companies now are offering referral bonuses for one of the coworkers bringing on somebody successful to help grow that business. So that is also an avenue. Or, you know, you could say if this agent sells a certain amount of apps, you could give them a discounted lead mailer, or you could help them with lead mailings. And set the goals realistically. You don't want to set them too low. You don't want to be doing free lead mailers if you write one Medicare Advantage app, but don't set them too high either. So you want to be a resource and build a relationship. So being their support to educate them. I know here at Knight, Schloss & Fleming, we really strive to educate our agents and agencies on everything that is happening in the market. Our agents and agencies know that they can call us, and we will always be answering the phone. I think that speaks volumes. They know that they can get a hold of us, that we will help them take care of their issues, whatever that may be. So I think that, you know, the agency really needs to be a resource to the agents as well. And then follow up with the agents regularly and make them remember you. I've talked to multiple agents from around the United States who have stated they have no idea who their upline is. They might work through one of our agencies, or it might be and just hadn't heard from the agency in quite a while. So you really need to be able to retain your agents. You need to be following up with your agents and making sure that they know who you are. You don't want an agent out there saying, well, I'm not really sure the agency that I'm working with. I think they might be somewhere in, you know, Colorado, or I think they might be somewhere in, you know, Alabama. You want to make sure that they know who you are, because then that will build loyalty, and you'll make sure that they are not leaving you for another agency. So those are just some of the tips that I would say about recruiting. You know, keep it lighthearted. You don't have to be a hard seller. Make sure you're showing your personality in regards to this, and find out what actually works for your agency. Like I said, maybe LinkedIn is going to be successful for you. Maybe you pull up 400 agents that are in the Pittsburgh area, and you just start making phone call after phone call, or you're sending a mass email to those people on LinkedIn to see if there's any opportunity to grow your business. Or if you don't want to do the social media avenue, try those DOI lists. Try email campaigns. You could go to the career fairs to find out. Also, I know some of the carriers, oftentimes, if they are not contracting agents directly, they, when they get phone calls in, they will be referring those agents to other agencies. We have encountered that some as well. So you could always touch base with your local carrier rep. You could touch base with us if you have any questions on how to recruit agents, or if you need any further advice. If you have questions, you can type them in the chat box, and I'd be happy to answer anything. You can also reach out to me directly as well. Okay, so one of the questions, is it a long contracting process to have new agents underneath of you? So I would say that with some of the carriers, yes, the paperwork is very long. You do want to give the full contract, but make sure the agents know they do not, if you're doing it either over email or they're faxing back their contracting to you, that they do not need to fax back the 100 pages maybe. Walk them through that process, like I said, on the phone or in person. It gives a personal touch, and they know that you are willing to work with them. Also, Also, on a side note, some other things that I have encountered, some agents have asked, well, are you paying for E&O? Will you pay for our CE credits? You know, those types of questions. Some agents actually don't want to pay for E&O. They have no interest in buying E&O. It is okay, again, to walk away from those agents and say, like, oh, I'm sorry, you know, I don't think this is a good fit. But if they are asking if you are paying for those types of things, you know, you really have to think about if you want to be spending over $400 on these agents every year without knowing what they're going to produce for you. Okay, thank you so much for attending today. Feel free to reach out to me directly if you have any additional questions. Thank you. Have a good day.